Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. So in this photograph, it's which I'll just describe it for the viewer listener. The moment is brutal, and what it is essentially, I guess you were walking right next to a downed helicopter that's completely smashed. So there's no person. So the grass is kind of the ground is kind of the tamped grass. It's black and white. It's black and white shot. There's like the full on machinery of a combat helicopter that's just been just destroyed. Rotors are split, broken, bent. It's very dramatic, and yet there's no frame of reference. It's not like we see this kind of thing every day. So what is this?
Okay, so this photograph was taken in 1984. The Falklands had ended, and we were on exercise in Scotland. And we were exercising with the Norwegians and the Dutch and everything. And we were on a Dutch ship called the Polster, and we were offloading the ship. Now, I'd survived the bombing and shooting in the war completely, but it ended in that aircraft on the 21st of June, 1984, in a field in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
And the events were, the photograph was taken as I was kind of next to the aircraft, waiting for the rescue and the ambulances.
Wait a second. Wait a second. You were in that helicopter that fell, that downed, and you survived?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well. Okay.
A life less ordinary.
Yeah.
That aircraft. It was a normal, bright, sunny day. 21st of June is the longest day of the year. We briefed at 4:00 in the morning. We were lifting loads. If you look around the base of that photograph, you'll see there's lots of wood.
Yeah.
So we were lifting loads off of the ship into Lucas Air Force Base.
Okay.
And just disembarking the ship, taking all the boxes of tools and books and everything that a squadron needs to fly.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't know at the beginning of that trip, at 4:00 in the morning when we briefed for the flight in the briefing room, was that the pilot of the aircraft was about 3 times over the legal limit for alcohol.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And
oh, man.
He had, the co-pilot, Mike, was a really good guy, or is a really good guy, thank you.
Okay.
But the pilot of the aircraft was a very senior pilot going for his lieutenant commander, and we didn't know that he had been in a mess that night, drinking most of the evening until he went to fly.
Okay.
We took off with a load underneath, flew to the base, went up the River Tay, which is a small river, and flew into Lucas, dropped the load, went back to the ship to pick up a heavy load, flew back to the Air Force Base, and there was a queue of helicopters waiting for fuel. And he said, let's go and get fuel back at the ship, which was a perfectly reasonable thing to do.
Right.
We flew back to the ship, and the fuel pumps went down. That's the start of the accident.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, as a navigator, well, let's fly back, because I'd asked him if he was happy to navigate himself on a clear day. He said, yeah. And he said, no, we'll pick up a load. And I, as the load master, the person that knows the weights, I said, it's a really light load and it's going to fly horribly on a strop under the aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
To which he said, no, we'll pick it up. It did fly like a bitch. Unfortunately, he then flew up the wrong river away from the Air Force Base when we were very low on fuel.
Oh, no.
And I said, well, let's land in a field and we could get a tanker out to us to fuel us. The only problem there is that's then classed as an incident and everyone gets a blood test at an incident.
Right.
So he said, no, we can make it to the base. And essentially, we ran out of fuel in midair.
Oh, man.
And because he hadn't checked the release on the cargo hoist, which were both his responsibility, we couldn't release the load. So the
Mm-hmm.
aircraft tried to auto rotate, which means that the blades get flattened and tried to auto rotate, but free fell, they reckon, about 400 feet
Wow.
into a field.
Holy shit.
Now, I wasn't strapped in. I was, I had a harness on that was connected to it was called a dispatcher harness. You see them on a lot of aircraft with aircrew.
Mm-hmm.
And I just lay as flat as I could on the ground. And by divine, I don't know how it happened, the box underneath us was full of wicker baskets. The box collapsed and smashed.
Mm-hmm.
The fuel tanks were empty and they collapsed and smashed. The mat I was laying on and my rib cage collapsed.
Wow.
And then I was thrown out of the aircraft.
Holy shit.
Now, the reason that photograph's important as one of the 4 photographs in my kind of life is that's the moment my naval career ended and my new career started.
Okay.
So I was in hospital for quite a long time, and then I left the Navy and started working with this in 1984, this fairly small computer company called Apple.
Okay.
I didn't work directly for Apple, but I worked for. They didn't have stores or anything in those
Mm-hmm.
days. I worked for someone, and I did. Strangely, because I could play the guitar, I did music for Apple people that used Apple.
Mm-hmm.
So in some ways, I'm responsible for all that bleeps and bips in the 1980s,
Right, right, right.
all that sequence music.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the end of a career.
Mm-hmm.
Just to let you know, the compensation paid by the Navy for that accident was £250.
Ah, there you go.
Uh, yeah, that was all right. But
Go on, son.
the observer in the aircraft, the navigator who was on duty that day, was a Canadian person that had been seconded to the Royal Navy, and he had a broken ankle.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, the co-pilot, has had severe back problems
Mm.
with an engine landing on top of him,
Well,
having to be cut out, and the pilot died
yeah.
in the accident. And as I left the Navy, I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no, I was, what was I, 20, 26? No, 24. Yeah, 24. I had no idea what I was going to do. And I managed to get a job selling Apple Macs because nobody had done that in those days.
Mm.
So another moment captured in time, another shot that that means a lot and is a
Sure.
thing that I often used to look at that photograph and go, "What's the worst thing that can happen?"
Right. Right. Well, look, just to bring it back, the theme or the mission of the podcast is that, if life really is a gift, how do we make every second count? An accident like that, a near-death experience like that is definitely going to shake you up and make you realize some things and hopefully make you more present to how amazing life really is. I don't know how you internalized or coped, but you seem to walk away from the hospital with those 250 pounds with new man.
Yeah, I think everyone has an attitude in life.
Yep.
Everyone's I have an incredibly positive attitude to life,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it does make you feel that you have to grasp everything.
Yep.
You have to keep yourself in a state which is that most things are positive.
Right.
It's a very good antidepressant, a big accident like that.
Look, I've been in three, so I know what you're talking about. I can definitely connect with what you're saying. We can talk about that some other time, but I truly
Sure.
want to hop on to the next photo because I know
Okay.
I kind of know where we're heading, and I want to get there quickly so I can motivate people to reach out. So is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes.